In the studio with me, I have our usual ray of sunshine, Paolo Tullio. I just couldn't resist that segue. How are you today?
Well, I almost wasn't with you.
Oh, no.
This morning. I woke up this morning and my bottom lip had swollen up like a balloon. And I walked into my...
So it has?
I walked into my...
I thought you just got the usual injection.
A bit of a bit of fat injected in the lips. So I went into my bathroom and I actually got serious fright at my own reflection. I mean, it was very, very, very swollen. And I was drinking my morning coffee and it was dribbling rather...
Oh, God.
I couldn't get it to go in my mouth. It was all rather depressing. I thought, how am I going to... I couldn't even talk properly. I couldn't smoke a cigarette. Nothing was working. I thought, this is dreadful. But then a friend said, take an antihistamine. You probably got a histamine reaction to something.
Yes.
So I did. And, well, I can more or less...
talk now, but it's gone down.
It's gone down. I mean, it was absurd. I mean, I looked like a goldfish.
Wow. How were you aware of being allergic to anything?
I was aware during the night of a bit of discomfort in my mouth, but I wasn't paying much attention to it. I was too busy sleeping.
Yes.
But it was sort of vaguely conscious of something was happening in my mouth. So,
but, I mean, are you...
And I wandered into the bathroom and I got such a fright that I looked in the mirror.
God,
oh, my God.
Poor thing.
I look like a monster.
But obviously you've had some allergic reaction to something that you may not have been aware that you were allergic to.
I can't think what. Very odd.
Is there any food stuff or any...
I had a very basic bowl of... I was down my favourite Italian restaurant last night in Enniscorthy in Via Veneto, and I got a very simple dish, one that I've had many times, beans and sausage. Cannellini beans and sausage in a tomato sauce. Absolutely delicious.
Yeah, that wouldn't do it.
Good peasant food.
Yes.
No, that couldn't be that.
That's very odd, isn't it?
Anyway, I think whatever it is seems to be abating.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. What does Paolo think of corn? I've seen some adverts suggesting that it is a good supplement for meat as it's lower in fat. Is it any good? Could it be left eating a load of cardboard, says Emer.
I don't know much about corn. I mean, I know what it is. I'm just a little bit perturbed by foods that are made in an industrial process and then presented to you as being better for you than the naturally available foods.
Yeah.
And that's what would be troubling me about those things. For example, I don't believe that artificial sweetener called aspartame is better for you than sugar.
Yes.
And there are all, I could go through a whole list of things, but I honestly think that natural ingredients are probably a better deal than something that's been made by some genius in an alchemical laboratory.
I think the thing about corn as well is that it is actually completely tasteless. It's what you add to it.
You're supposed to add taste to it, I think.
Yeah.
It was a bit like mashed potato in the sense that it itself doesn't taste of anything, but you put things in it, and it does.
In that vein, and what do you feel about butter vis-a-vis various type spreads?
Exactly the same. To get a vegetable oil to become a solid, you've got to pump hydrogen gas through it. And then you've got to colour it yellow so that it becomes a pretend butter. Even more absurd are the ones that tell you to spread this stuff on your bread because it's made from olive oil. Well, why don't you just put the olive oil on your bread? Why do you have to convert it into a yellow fat first? Well, what's the point of that? I simply don't understand it. But I do honestly think that probably 50 years from now, people are going to be saying, did those people really believe that stuff was good for you?
It's true, and I think even the thinking on butter has changed somewhat. That it used to be like, it was the equivalent to the death ray.
Absolutely.
But now it's not so bad. Plus, also, on those occasions when if you are using it and then you run out of it and then you have to use butter and you realise, oh my God, butter tastes of something.
That's nice.
Yes, tastes of butter as opposed to the other crap which doesn't taste of butter.
It is quite nice.
Yeah.
And but things change all the time. Do you remember when only a few years ago you weren't supposed to have more than 3 eggs a week or something because otherwise you'd die of cholesterol? And now the latest research tells me it's a superfood, and clever people eat 3 eggs at breakfast and then another 3 in their evening meal, and they do that every day, and they're half a dozen eggs a day. They're just fantastic. Superfood.
I didn't know. That's probably why I'm such a dumbass then.
Margaret Thatcher apparently used to eat about 8 eggs a day.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
8 eggs,
Is that
16 minors. Yeah. Carrie suggesting there may have been a spider bite that you received last night.
It's not out of the question. There's a tiny little prick here on the corner of my lip. It might have been a bite of some sort.
Paolo may have been stung by a rouge bee. As the weather is unseasonably warm, poor Paolo, send him hugs from me.
Oh,
says
how
Kate.
nice. How kind.
That's nice. So maybe she means a rogue bee rather than a rouge bee.
Yeah, I think might have been a rogue bee.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, but maybe he was just dressing for the season.
There
Yes.
were rouge bees in their Christmas garb.
So this bee mincing down the catwalk, and they goes, "Oh, I'll go and sting that lip over there." Got Paolo's book for Christmas. Kids are now making their own pasta, and pizza sauce is amazing. Thank you very much.
Well, that's
says
nice.
Mike.
And somebody sent me a tweet during the week to tell me that my wonderful book is now available to you at $3.99 in Eason's. So now is the time to go and buy it. Snap it up cheap.
How does Paolo take his gammon steaks? I'm a gammon and egg lady, but my new fella is mad into his grilled pineapple on top. Are we compatible at all, says Sharon in Carlo. This is romance advice, really.
Sharon, I'd be with you. Egg. And in fact, I had this conversation just the other night with a friend of mine. We were just talking about food in general, and we're saying, is there in fact any food that is not improved by having a poached egg placed on top of it?
Cornflakes.
All right, yes. All
No, it's cornflakes cake, is another suggestion.
Any savoury food.
Okay, right. Limited.
Any savoury food that's not...
Okay, yeah.
No, because the conversation came up as we had really nice piece of smoked haddock with a poached egg on top. And just when you get the runny bit of the yolk coming over the smoked haddock, oh, God, is it good.
If you had a poached egg on top of a bit of venison, which sounds like a mad idea, but now that I think about it...
I might just try that.
You should.
Put this theory to the test.
Will you ask Paolo, how or what is the best way to serve lobster? I've a few I bought, cooked and frozen. Thanks.
I think, again, lobster, I mean, there are lots of complicated things you can do. You can do thermidor, you can do them with cream sauces, but I'm kind of the opinion that lobster is such a nice meat that you don't want to lose the taste of the lobster. There was a very famous French gastronome of the 19th century who called himself Cordon Ski. And it was quite fashionable to have sort of Russian-sounding names
right.
at the time. Just all those Russian emigres had gone into Paris after the 1917 revolution. But he was famous for his dictum, which was, things should taste of what they are. Now, that sounds kind of
very
blindingly
common sense,
obvious.
yeah.
And probably even a little banal, but there was a time, you could probably remember it yourself, some years back, when in Ireland especially, nothing was allowed to taste of what it was. Everything had to be stuffed with something else or covered with a sauce made from something else. And you could never actually taste the base ingredient. So I think with lobster, I just like it very, very plain. A bit of melted butter with perhaps a hint of garlic in it, but just simple.
If you like lobster, eat
taste
lobster.
the lobster. That would be my thinking on it.
Has Paolo ever been told he looks a bit like Orson Welles? I'm looking forward to his next movie, Citizen Sugarcane. Says, happy but not delighted Liverpool fan.
That's very funny.
Have you ever been told you look like Orson Welles?
No, I have occasionally been told. Peter Ustinov has been suggested, but I noticed that both of these come with fairly large paunches. This might be the resemblance.
But also, both were regarded as master storytellers. Both had rich, profundo voices.
Oh yes, maybe that's it.
That's what it is. Yes, a certain bearing and dignity. How does Paolo make his carbonara? Cream versus milk. And would he recommend frozen tuna? I bought some lately and regret it, as it's nowhere near the fresh version. Says Elena.
I've never had frozen tuna, so I wouldn't know. My thoughts on tuna have been kind of coloured now by Japanese ideas on cookery. I'm now of the opinion that tuna is best eaten raw, and if you insist on searing the outside, that just simply means you've only spoiled a very small amount of the fish. As long as it's still raw on the inside, you'll get the good bit. I'm convinced now that it is a fish that is seriously disimproved by the process of adding heat to it. Raw is best. Carbonara, I'm quite strict on this. No cream at all. Not cream, not milk. No cream at all. What you should use is just the egg yolk. Beat it well with some ground black pepper and grated fresh Parmesan. Don't buy the pre-grated dried stuff, because after a very short time it does start to smell rancid very quickly. And because it oxidizes too easily once it's already been grated. So buy it fresh and grate it as you need it. And stir that into your pasta, the beaten egg yolk with the grated Parmesan and the black pepper in it. First, before you pour that onto your pasta, once it's cooked, add your... you may have to use bacon in this country. It's not actually the right thing to use. You can use collar of bacon, which is easily got, and cut it into little cubes, rather than rashers, which are actually the wrong shape. If you want to be really fussy, get some pancetta, which has a different taste from bacon, and it does make a different tasting dish. And if you want to be really fussy, go get something called Guanciale, which is made in the same way as pancetta, but it's made from the pig's cheek. And that's what the Romans used for. This is a Roman dish.
Yes.
And you add that first with you I wouldn't say cook, because it's all pancetta and guanciale is already cured, but you heat it in olive oil, let the fat render, pour that over your pasta, and then add the beaten egg yolk and take it away from the heat, and let the residual heat of the pasta do the work. And it comes out very creamy. You actually don't need any cream. It's not necessary.
There you go. Right, okay, we do have to take a commercial break. After that, Paolo will be answering one of my favourite questions of the day. Is there an Italian equivalent of haggis? Back in a couple of minutes.
Moncrief.
Thanks to Dumbdeal.ie, Ireland's largest classified ads website.
News Talk 106 to 108.
She is someone that is a fashion icon. She is one of the top 3 most profound, most influential fashion models on this earth. Ladies, I bring you Twiggy.
Join Twiggy with Evie Sullivan this week on Shenanigans. Thanks to StyleIrish.ie. Saturday from midday on News Talk 106 to 108.
Is your son or daughter faced with choosing a degree? Filling out the CAO form is a milestone moment, isn't it? They are determined to do it themselves, but you really need to be part of it. For us, UL has the edge. A choice of excellent courses with proven employability on graduation. On-campus living in a friendly village environment. Fabulous sports facilities. Plus the all-important student support services. The University of Limerick makes them fit for life. And you can't ask for more than that. Find out more at ul.ie.
There are no jobs in Ireland. No one's hiring. Are they? Well, yeah, they are. At Career Zoo. Career Zoo is where we put Ireland's top employers in a room with smart, ambitious graduates and professionals and see what happens. It's like speed dating for people who want to advance their careers, improve their qualifications, or even take the plunge and start their own business. So, if you want to meet leading employers that are hiring right now, you'll need to be at Career Zoo at the Mansion House, Dublin, this February 11th and 12th. To register, visit careerzoo.ie, proudly supported by News Talk.
In today's Evening Herald, read an exclusive report on the plan to allow homeowners hand back their keys to the banks. We also probe the astonishing case of the murdered priest, the gang boss, and the missing murder suspect. Plus, don't miss rugby's #1 writer Neil Francis and your free Dubliner magazine.
The Evening Herald, all things considered.
When is the last time you had a complete health check? Here at the Matter Private, we've been providing health screening programs for many years. As Ireland's leading private hospital, we offer a wealth of medical expertise. On a single visit, taking just under 3 hours, we can give you an accurate and detailed picture of your health. Take a positive step towards managing your health. Book your full health check with the Matter Private. Call us now on 1850 885 321. That's 1850 885 321. Or go to matterprivate.ie.
Calling all company directors and executives. Being a trustee of a pension plan means you have a legal requirement to undergo trustee training by February 1st. If you haven't already completed your training or you are unsure of what is required, contact Independent Trustee Company today. ITC offer on-site training, online courses and valuable professional advice. Visit trustee.ie or talk to your broker about appointing ITC as your professional trustee. Independent Trustee Company. Your future, our focus. ITC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Terms and conditions apply.
Food on Moncrief with Paolo Tullio.
You are listening to the Moncrief Show on News Talk 106 to 108 1890 453 106 is our low call number, or you can send us a text to 53106. That'll cost you 30 cents. Paolo was just talking about carbonara there, basically making the point that you don't need to use milk or cream when you're making your carbonara. Though one texter says, I use creme fraiche and bind it with an egg yolk, as taught to me by an Italian friend when I lived in France. Very sophisticated, thank you very much. Paul on Twitter wants to know, is there an Italian equivalent to haggis?
I think every country has its equivalent to haggis. Well, all that haggis is what used to be called the umbles once upon a time, or the humbles. That's to say, the bits of the inside that the Lord didn't want of an animal. And that's where the word humble pie comes from, incidentally.
Ah, right, okay.
Only the poor got to eat the humble pie. It was made from the humbles. The humbles would be the lights, the heart, the lung, the liver, the kidneys, the bits and pieces that are not normally wanted at the Lord's table. So every country has their version of that. The Scots would stuff the sheep's stomach with those bits minced up with oatmeal and some interesting flavours. In fact, I had a very nice haggis last week, made by Baxter's Haggis. Very nice it was.
And when it comes, I mean, it's inside the...
It's like a little cannonball.
Yeah.
It's
so
like
do you get a
cannonball.
slice of it, or does it disintegrate when you take it
You're
out?
not going to eat the whole thing.
Yeah.
These days they come in artificial casings, but still shaped in the same shape. It's like a little cannonball. They don't normally use the real cheap stomach. They just use an artificial casing.
I see, right, yeah.
But a slice of haggis with a little dash of scotch on top is one of the most delicious things you can eat. Again, like most of these minced things, best not ask
what's in there.
What's in it. Just,
you don't want to be thinking about
just
that.
Just eat it. And, so in Italy we have a thing called budella, which again, it's not made from it's not the stomach, but it is made from the lower intestine, which is a big, wider one. It's bigger and fatter. And again, it's stuffed with all those bits chopped up, minced. The French in Burgundy have a similar thing called an andouillette. Very same, but it's sort of shaped more like a sausage than haggis.
And how would they be cooked then, once everything is put
most
aside?
of these things are just simply boiled and then sliced.
Right, okay.
Boiled and sliced, which you would do with the haggis.
And the haggis, you put a bit of scotch over it.
Oh, yes. And do that on Burns night. And then you need somebody to do the piping and somebody to recite Rabbi Burns. And
right, okay, well, that's a bit more elaborate preparation than I was,
chieftain of the pudding race, behold your son's face, that one.
Right. Good accent.
I'm
there.
sure you know that.
Everyone's doing Scottish. I don't actually, to be honest. I'm a terrible embarrassment. I know. Phil, the delivery guy, says, ask Paolo how the apple trees are growing.
Well, they don't appear to have done anything for the minute. I'm rather hoping they're still alive. But I wouldn't be surprised if something starts to bud or leaf, because you had that fellow telling you that he's got a daffodil coming out. I mean, I've got 2 pansies have already come into flower outside my house. I mean, that's bizarre. Very strange.
So
it's not out of the question that the trees would start to leaf up. The only thing that would worry me if they did was that we're not out of danger from colds and frosts. No. And if they did start to bud, and then 3 weeks from now we get a really cold snap, that's this year's growth gone.
Does Paolo have any good tips for using lardo?
My partner Marion comes to visit me. She says, can I throw that out? It's just a lump of fat. And I have to say, no, you may not throw it out. It's a very, very valuable piece of lardo di colonnata. And it is, as its name suggests, lard.
Right.
But it has been rendered, purified, and aged in these big marble vats. And it has an exquisite taste. Ideally, it should be served very, very thinly sliced. And the best and easiest way to use it is if you're frying a steak, once you've cooked your steak and you're serving it, just put a thin slice of lardo on top of the steak.
Okay.
It will melt with the heat of the steak and will give your steak an absolutely amazing taste. And if you do that before your Irish friends have seen you put the slice of lardo on the top, all they'll say is, "Oh, wow, this tastes amazing."
Just don't tell them what it is.
Just don't let them see you cutting up a slice of lard and putting it on there.
There's the tip. Lie. I have battered haggis from the local chipper every time I'm in Scotland.
Battered?
Says Pool Boy.
Battered haggis?
Yeah.
Oh, dear me, everything in Scotland have to be battered.
Christos says in Bulgaria we have what we call bahur, or B-A-H-U-R. It tastes between haggis and black pudding.
Okay.
So probably every country has a version.
I'm sure they have a variant.
You were saying about the poached egg on top. Somebody else says, I think most foods taste better with cheese on top. The exceptions are Chinese and Indian. But aside from that, bring out the cheese, please.
Yeah, I think, cheese does, in fact, add quite a lot to a lot of different things. It's a very versatile and useful food.
And Catherine wants to know, can you ask Paolo how he would poach an egg?
Well,
are there different ways of poaching?
There are loads of different ways of doing it. I came across, you probably find often enough, sometimes if you're having breakfast in hotels, you'll often get it where what they do is they have a small bowl and they put a sheet of cling film over the bowl and then break an egg onto that, so that then you can gather the edges of the cling film, screw it up tight, and your raw egg is now in cling film.
Yes.
And you drop that into the boiling water. And, of course, it gives you a perfect shape. But I think that's kind of more fecking around than is absolutely necessary. What I use is, it seems to work quite well, there's things called egg rings. You often use them for fried eggs. Yeah. They're just a metal ring. But I have a pan which fits 3 of these in, shallow, put water, put 3 rings in the water, and then break the egg into the ring. And that just keeps them in the right shape. Yeah, and nice and floating all over the place. So I don't think you need to be putting in vinegar, which I don't actually like the taste of poached eggs with vinegar in them.
Very quickly, Johnny Mayo wants to know, what are your feelings about tapioca?
Well, I went to an English boarding school, and and tapioca came up fairly frequently, along with other such delights as blancmange.
I'm sorry to bring up such painful memories, really.
So, yes, it doesn't have great connotations for me.
I think take your answer from there. All right. Paolo, always a pleasure. Thanks a million. That was Paolo Tullio.